Hi, everybody. This is Bob Gale, co-creator of Back to the Future, and you're listening to Brad Gilmore.
Doc! Okay, relax, Doc. It's me. It's Martin.
Oh, it can't be. Just sent you back to the future.
Oh, I know you did send me back to the future, but I'm back. I'm back from the future.
Great Scott.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it some style?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Back to the Future, the podcast, the only podcast looking back in time, the greatest film trilogy of all time, Back to the Future. I'm your friend in time, Brad Gilmore, and we have a great show for you today. I got the opportunity to speak to somebody who is connected to the Back to the Future universe, but you might not realize it. And that man's name, of course, is the incomparable, the one and only, the man that so many of us grew up on. His name is Bill Nye. Bill Nye, the science guy, better known as, is somebody who's been in our lives. I mean, I remember being in Miss Smith's science class at Edgar Allan Poe Elementary School, and Bill Nye was on the screen, and I don't know if it was an overhead. I don't know what it was back in the day. What did we use? Was it called an overhead projector or whatever? I don't know how they did it. Whatever. VHS tape with they wheel in the television. But Bill Nye was on my screen. And now, all these years later, I'm talking to him. He's got a new show called The End Is Nigh, but he was a part of Back to the Future, the animated series. That's where he got his star in the early 90s as the science guy was his name on that show. So it only makes sense for Bill Nye, the science guy, to appear on Back to the Future, the podcast. We're going to talk to Bill Nye about his new show, about where he sees things, you know, with climate and electric cars and the sciencey stuff. We talk about that a little bit. And then I guarantee you I was the only one to ask him in this radio tour he was on about Back to the Future, the animated series. And he even does a Christopher Lloyd impression, a Doc Brown impression for all of you people out there. So sit back, relax, enjoy my conversation with the one and the only Bill Nye, the science guy, here on Back to the Future, the podcast. And he joins me right now. You've seen this man on your television screens for 3 decades plus. He has a new show on Peacock called The End Is Nigh. It is the one and the only, the often imitated but never duplicated, Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill, good morning to you. How are you doing, my friend?
Fabulously. Good morning.
Well, it's great to speak to you. Let's get right into the show. The End Is Nigh. For people who haven't seen this show or seen what it's about, give them a brief description of exactly what the show is.
Well, people are fascinated with the end of the world. We all are. And so we made 6 disaster movies, half-hour-long disaster movies, short disaster movies. And at the end of the first half of the show, I get killed. The disaster kills me. But in the second half of the show, we demonstrate all the steps we could take to avoid the disaster, get ready for the disaster with what? With science. So we have, what's a classic? We have a comet impact, like an asteroid impact. That's one of them. We did not do a pandemic because when we shot the show, we were in the middle of one. But we have giant storms. In fact, you know the town that really gets nailed? Houston.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. All that hardscape. When it rains in Houston, there's floods. I guess today is some floods scheduled in the Bay and so on. So good luck to be safe out there, Houstonians.
Yeah, we definitely get hit hard. Anytime there's a hard rain, I can go back to 2017, Hurricane Harvey. I've never seen so much water in my entire life. And, the whole city was shut down for weeks, months It took years really to rebuild everything that we had going on here. Let me ask you, though, to bring that up. I mean, obviously climate change is always on everybody's mind. As somebody who's in their 30s, I think about it a lot, especially for the future. What steps could the average everyday person take to at least have some benefit when it comes to climate change and slowing down that process?
Vote. That's the big thing. Vote. Put people in positions of policy influence, policy writing, who will change things. Get lawmakers who want to address climate change. That's the big thing we could do. You know, I grew up with every litter bit hurts. This idea that if everybody picks up his or her own litter, there wouldn't be any litter anyplace. And that's true to an extent. But when you have companies or manufacturing facilities or fast food places that are creating a tremendous amount of waste, then it's harder for individual action to address litter in this example effectively. However, that we do want to recycle all the material we can, all the aluminum cans, all the plastic bottles that we can. We want to recycle all that stuff, but we need big ideas. We need huge things to address climate change. We need renewable electricity. We need a electric base load, a source of electricity. We need to not waste surface water, fresh water. We need to not have fertilizer runoff and contaminate the Gulf of Mexico and so on. We need to do all these big things. We need big things. And for that, we got to take big steps. And for that, it's going to take policy change. And for that, we need to vote.
Always vote. Exercise that voice. You bring up things about, that we can do small changes, big changes for the climate. I would like your scientific opinion on electric cars. I hear a lot of debate about them. Obviously, we're in Houston, big oil and gas town. But I think that electric cars are inevitably what we're all going to be driving. I've heard arguments for and against as far as their impact on the environment, things about the batteries and going into waste dumps and things of that nature. What is your take on electric cars, and should we move to fully electric everything?
Yes, we should move to fully electric everything. And after you drive an electric car, you'll never go back. I love you all. You just won't go back. And as far as Texans go, there's going to be these fabulous electric pickup trucks are right around the corner. I guess that's a pun when it comes to cars. So that we don't have a place to recycle car batteries in your neighborhood, we'll fix that. The same way, just look around. Look at all the infrastructure we have right now for providing gasoline to gasoline-powered cars and diesel to diesel-powered vehicles. It's enormous investments we've made to provide gasoline and diesel to everybody. So what we will do in the coming decade or so, we will go make enormous investments to provide electricity for everybody. And the same way we do not throw away lead-acid batteries, the 12-volt system in a gas-powered car. We don't waste that lead. You turn in your battery, it's recycled into new batteries. We will do the same with the lithium and all that. And this concern that the sources of lithium around the world right now are in politically difficult places or controlled by Chinese corporations, we will address that because we will have to. But after you drive an electric car, you guys, you'll never go back. And keep in mind, the electric car doesn't know where the electricity came from. If the electricity is produced in a coal-fired or gas-burning power plant, okay, car still works. If it's produced in a nuclear power plant, car still works. If it's produced from wind and solar, the car still works. If it's produced with fusion energy in the next 30 years, the car will still work. The thing is, we built all these roads. We have all this infrastructure for vehicles, for cars. We got to use it for a long time. So try an electric car, you guys. You'll never go back.
Yeah,
aesthetically, a much more pleasant experience.
And my thing with electric cars or climate and all that, like even if somebody's listening and they say, I don't think that man has an impact on it, that's fine. But why don't we just operate under the assumption that maybe the science could be correct? Like maybe it could be correct, right? Like let's operate under that assumption if you're a non-believer. And, do your part. Do your part. Like Bill said, vote, do the electric cars, recycle, do what you can. Bill, I would be remiss. Again, the series is The End Is Nigh, streaming on Peacock. Bill Nye, the Science Guy, joins us. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up something while we were having this conversation. Everyone knows you as Bill Nye, the Science Guy, from the great show that we all watched in school coming up, Bill Nye, the Science Guy. But I loved you on Back to the Future, the animated series. You would do all these break-ins as the science guy in that show, and that's before Bill Nye, the Science Guy's TV show. What do you remember about working on the Back to the Future animated series?
Oh, it was cool. I didn't have any words. I didn't say anything. I designed most of the demonstrations, but they didn't let me talk. And but it was it was a start. It was a foot in the door. It was a clamp on the test tube. What was it? It was the beginning. So I worked with a guy, John Luden, who's still around, and every day doing that thing, Christopher Lloyd, the guy who played Doc Brown, Doc Brown would come to the studio and we would do some science demonstrations. It was fun. But that's a niche, man. That's a niche. That's an older show, the reference lost on many of the younger listeners. But big fun in the start of things. That was a science-based interlude, and it was part of the or in response to the Children's Television Act, where you had this entertainment show based on very popular science fiction, and then slipped in the middle was a real science lesson.
Yeah, I loved you on that show. I love Bill Nye, the Science Guy. We all grew up on it. It had such a major influence on me, and I know so many thousands and millions of people around this country and around the world. So, Bill, The End Is Nigh is streaming on Peacock. Everybody go check it out. Do your part. And Bill Nye, the Science Guy, thank you so much for joining us and blessing the Houston airwaves with some of your wisdom.
Yes, sir. Carry on. Let's change the world.
Let's do it. Bill Nye, the Science Guy. Thanks so much, Bill.
Thank you.